Now we talk about those that require the energy from ATP. And why one is moving substances against the concentration gradient. So in that case, we're going from low to high. So let's make sure we have that language with the concentration gradient. That's diffusion. Going from high to low. Against the concentration gradient, well, that has to use ATP because we're going to have to pump uphill. This is contrary to what the molecules really want to do. Molecules want to do diffusion. They want to go from high to low. Any opportunity they can, they will. So we're going to have to push them up the hill to shove more into the cell or shove more out of the cell, whatever circumstance that is. So against the concentration gradient is always going to use ATP. With concentration gradient is going to be passive. So it's either simple diffusion or facilitated diffusion, whichever. Depends on, what does it depend on? When will we need facilitated diffusion? What does that mean? Let's review that. Protein carrier? We have to have a protein carrier. That's the helper. Protein carrier or a channel. We've got to have a protein to get across. And under what circumstance? What's the nature of that molecule or atom or whatever that it requires a protein channel? It can't just go across the lipid bilayer. Yeah, it's polar. Now another reason why we might have to use ATP is to open, a gated channel. So sometimes we use the phosphate, that third phosphate, to open a gated channel. We'll talk about that here in just a second. So we've got the active transport and then the cellular transport. That's the one that you can look at online. And that was pretty easy to understand, wraps around, pulls in, or has as a pocket, pushes out. So now let's look at the gated channels. Sometimes channels are closed and they only open under certain circumstances. And it takes energy to open them often. So where we live, we have a locked gate. So when I drive up to the gate, get out of the car, go unlock the padlock, open the gate, turn around, go back in the car, and drive through. Close the gate, which may mean chasing the gate because it's a windy day, it's flying everywhere, and lock it back up. Look at all the energy it took to do that. So that wasn't a simple one. But here are the three ways that we open gate. So chemically gated means a chemical binds to, well, let's take a step back. These are proteins. These blue things, they're protein channels. So when something binds to it, it changes shape. We've talked about that already. When something binds to a protein, it changes shape. So if a chemical binds to a protein, it changes shape and it opens the gate. I think I have slides for each of these. No, I don't. Okay. Oh, I didn't. That's okay. So we're going to see that particularly with neurotransmitters when we start chapter 7. That's how neurotransmitters open an ion channel. They open it by binding to the gate opens. We're going to have mechanically gated. Mechanically gated are like this little coin purse that was popular when I was a kid. This student at McAllister got this for me when I was talking about it. See, I push on it and the ion channel opens. So pushing on it opens the ion channel. I feel this because I am pushing and I'm pushing down on the cell membrane and it's opening the ion channels and ions move. And that's going to be true of hearing. Today you're going to do a lab called special senses in which you're testing vision, hearing, and equilibrium. Oh, she's excited about that. You should have seen her face change. All right, the little hairs in our ears, they're mechanically gated. So when we get the little vibrations, it makes those little hairs do this. And when those little hairs do that, it opens ion channels, starts a nerve impulse. so that's how we hear. And the same thing when I tilt my head, there are little rocks in my semicircular canals that slide, and when they slide, they bend hairs, and that's how my brain knows that I just tilted my head. Okay. So those are mechanically gated. And then the last is voltage gated. We haven't talked about the voltage that's on a membrane, but all membranes, well, not all, but any cell that needs to react, like muscles and nervous system, they have voltage around them, and it has to do with keeping ions separate from each other, and then we maintain an electrical charge. Then if that charge changes, it opens voltage-gated channels. So we'll see that once we understand more about voltage.